started a couple of years ago. I was working at an amusement park here in the very south of Georgia, and I've seen a lot of this stuff on Facebook about these convention organizations, and one of them is called Spooky Empire. And I'm like, what is this Spooky Empire? What is it? And I looked up the information, and it's basically a convention organization where it's basically the same thing as Comic-Con. And so for the past year or so, my brother Eric and I have been, talking about it and saying, well, maybe we should, go to one of these things. And so we tried to take we tried to take both of them last year, because they do it like twice a year. They have one in March, and then they have one in October. So we said, well, we can try that. And so about 2 months ago, they announced who all was going to be at the convention, and I said, well, I'm game, so count me in. And so Eric told me that he had already paid for the tickets and the hotel reservation and all that kind of stuff. But unfortunately, something came up at the very last minute, and apparently Eric sent me a text saying, well, Patrick, it looks like you're going to end up going by yourself. And I got very upset about it, and I said, this is the third time now we might not be able to go. And then probably about 20 minutes later, he texted me back saying, well, I'm going to see if I can find someone who can go with you, and hopefully they'll probably come and say yes. And so Eric texted me back probably about a couple hours later and said, I found someone who can go with you, an old friend of his named Daniel. I'm like, Daniel who? He's like, Daniel Rodriguez. I was like, oh, I remember him. So Daniel and I got in touch, and he sort of found me on Facebook, and and so we talked about it and said, okay, well, better you than nobody, because this is the third time we've had to possibly cancel our trip to go into this convention. So but it turned out a pretty good success, and got to meet just about everybody who was going to be there, and I thought it was a pretty cool experience. So basically, but the number of actors and other celebrities that were there, such as Kane Hodder, who was one of them, and who we all know, who was best known as the role of Jason in Friday the 13th, Part 7, Part 8, Jason Goes to Hell, and Jason X. And it still bums me out that he didn't get to play Jason in Freddy vs. Jason. So Friday morning came, and Daniel arrived, and we proceeded straight to Orlando, and it was like we made the trip in like 3.5 hours, maybe a little longer or a little less. But by the time we got to the hotel, it was I was afraid that we were going to be stuck in long lines, which we kind of did. And so the Wyndham Resort in Orlando, very beautiful place. I mean, there were like all sorts of merchandise. There was a lot of cool merchandise, by the way, and everything like T-shirts. T-shirts will be at $20 each. Which is I guess you could say it's pretty much a reasonable price, but to me, $15 should be good. Should be a reasonable price for T-shirts, and they even had like Blu-rays and DVDs of all kinds of horror movies, including some that I've never seen before, and probably a few that I don't really want to see because of some of the things I've seen on YouTube about horror movies that disturbed people, and that some of them were too realistic, that they had to be banned from the country and all that kind of fiddle-faddle. But and of course they even gave out free coffee, which was very cool. And Spooky Empire, they even have their own coffee brands, and they were even, not only were they giving out free samples, but they were also selling like little bags of the coffee beans, and $11 for a bag, and I intended to get one, but I decided to hold off. So and they even had like a tattoo. They had like a tattoo booths in the other room, which is the other ballroom. The hotel had two ballrooms, and the biggest ballroom was where they had all the merchandise.
But as soon as we went into the conference room, which is where all the celebrities were, except for one of them was missing. I think it was Rico Browning, who who played the Gill Man in the underwater sequence of Creature from the Black Lagoon, and but anyway, he wasn't in there for some reason, so I wasn't sure what was going on with him. But anyway, the moment we walked in, I just looked around, and there were all these people who I remember seeing as a kid, and I'm like, I think I just died and went to heaven. It was just a very big magical moment that I've always imagined. So anyway, there was a line forming in front of these booths where all the actors were, and the first one that Daniel and I got to meet was Kane Hodder. The guy who played who was the first actor to play Jason more than once. He actually played Jason 4 times. He's best remembered from Friday the 13th Part 7, Part 8, Jason Goes to Hell, and Jason X. And although Kane was he was happy and a little sad at the same time, because he had just lost a really good friend of his, John Buechler, who directed Part 7, and they've been really good friends ever since that one. Yeah, John died of cancer probably about 2 days before the convention, and Kane had to leave early Sunday morning, to attend the funeral. I met Kane and told him how I've always admired him a lot, and told him he was a great performer as Jason, and I told him that he basically brought the kill level, the kills of Jason to a different level, because he literally tore people up as Jason, and he's a great guy. He loves the fans, and it was just a great moment. So and also shortly after, we ended up meeting Fairuza Balk, who many of us remember as Nancy from The Craft, and as Vicky Valancourt from the Waterboy. Still a great funny classic. But then shortly after, Daniel and I, we ended up meeting Christopher Lloyd, who I've always admired as a kid. First movie I saw him in was Roger Rabbit, and then loved him in Back to the Future, and we spoke about some of the stuff that he did in some of the previous movies that he did. Excuse me. About some of the stuff that he did in stuff that he did from the early '80s to the '90s. We spoke about his character from Star Trek III, The Search for Spock. I did ask him, what was it like under the Cleon makeup? Did it feel any uncomfortable at certain times? And he surprisingly said no, it didn't bother him at all, which it does kind of look uncomfortable, but like I'm pretty sure it looked like it would get kind of itchy. But then he gave me an answer that I wasn't really expecting. I thought he was going to say, yeah, it felt awful, but then I asked him how long would it take for them to put it on and take it off. He said it would normally take about 4.5 hours to put it on, and then 2.5 hours to have them take it off, because it was practically glued to his forehead. And but Christopher Lloyd, yeah, he was a great actor, and he's a very great and wonderful man. It was really honoring to meet him as well. But Daniel, he heard that Christopher Lloyd was going to be there. He got overly excited as well. So he got he got a chance to meet, basically Doc Emmett Brown, which is outstanding. And then the next day, Christina Ricci came in for her for yeah, Christina Ricci came in the next day, and she too was signing autographs and getting pictures taken with people, and and Eric asked me to purchase this Wednesday poster because he wanted her autograph. He wanted her to sign it, so I did that for him. And the moment I met her, I just said, wow, I think this is just such a great experience I ever had in my life. I said to myself, I've imagined this moment ever since I was a kid. I'd like to meet these people. But anyway, so basically, I was just glad I was able to do something that I've never really had the opportunity to think that I was going to do. And then shortly after meeting all the actors, I, saw some of the other people, getting pictures of some of the people dressed in costumes, and having really nice conversations with some of the other people, and Florida to me is really full of great and nice people. Like I remember having conversations with these couples and small groups, and the Spooky Empire, I just got to say, was a wonderful experience, and it was a great opportunity for me to see, and I'm actually hoping I get to catch the next one, which will be in October of this year, and I'm hoping my brother and his kids will get to come this time, because they were supposed to come with me originally instead of Daniel. And I just got to say, the Spooky Empire is it was very outstanding, and it was a lot of fun, and I'm hoping I get to do it again.